Hey, let's take a few minutes and talk about what does it mean to round a decimal. If you ask to round off a decimal, what does that look like and why would we do it? Well, here's a decimal. It's kind of big. It's got 6.317853. It's got a lot of numbers in it and it's awkward to use. So we are going to chop it down to something that's very close but is a lot easier to use. So we're being asked in this case to round this decimal to one decimal place. So if you see these numbers, DP, it stands for decimal place. So we are going to chop this decimal after the first decimal place. So starting from our decimal point, we're going to keep one decimal place. So we're going to chop it after one number after the decimal. Now, this number here, the next one after our chop, is the really important one. We're going to call this our critical digit because that decides whether or not we keep the decimal as it is. So we're going to either keep it at 6.3 or move it up to 6.4. If the critical digit is 4 or less, we just leave it as is. We chop it and we keep the 6.3. If it's 5 or more, then this 6.3 goes up 1 to become 6.4. Having a look here, my critical digit is 1, so that's 4 or less, so I leave it as it is. I chop it off, and my answer is 6.3. Now that 6.3 is kind of close to 6.317853, except now we've written it in one decimal place. Now you'll note, effectively, what that means is 6.317853 blah 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 is actually closer to 6.3 than it is to 6.4. So by doing this process, we're effectively saying which one is it closer to. Let's use that. All right, let's go through some more examples. Round 0.1687 off to 3 decimal places. So we start at our decimal and we count out. In fact, let's just rewrite it here. Start at our decimal, count out 3 places. 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to chop it. I have a look at my critical digit, which in this case is 7. So according to my rule, 5 or more, I round it up. So it's either going to be 0.168 or 0.169. This is 5 or more, so I round it up to 0.169 because this critical digit was 5 or more. How about this one? 2.199 rounded to 2 decimal places. Start at my decimal, count out 2 places and chop it. Have a look at the next number after the chop. In this case, it's 9. Now, my answer is either going to be 2.19. I'm either going to keep it as it is, or that 2.19 will go up to 2.20 because you'll see here, even if I round this 9 up to 0, then I've got to round the next number up. So basically I've got 19 or 20. So it's either going to be 2.19, which is kind of not the correct way to say it, but just visually that's what's happening. It's either staying as a 19 or the whole thing's going up to 20 because 19 is the next number after 20. So in this case, my critical digit is 9. It's 5 or more, so I'm going to round up to 2.20. And I'm putting the 0 on the end because I need 2 decimal places. If I just left it as 2.2, then effectively I've written it as 1 decimal place. 2.20 shows me that I've got this out to 2 decimal places. Let's look at one more example. Round 4.999 to 2 decimal places. Let's count out 2 numbers after the decimal. 1, 2. Chop it there. Now my answer is either going to be 4.99, or if I rounded that up, effectively the next number after 4.99 is 5.00. So 499 up 1 more gets me to 500 if you think of it that way, even though the decimals are in there. Because of all these 9s, if I round up 1, it affects the next one, which will also get rounded up, which affects the next one. It's just an odd kind of question, but think of it this way: 499 or going up to the next number, which would be 500. Now look at my critical digit. It's definitely 5 or more, so I'm going to round it up to 5. Guys, that's what we mean to round a decimal. So remember to count out your decimal places, chop it, have a look at the critical digit and decide, is it going to stay the same or is it going to get rounded up? Good job. Well done.